Good evening. I'm just going to admit a few more people. Two months ago, I talked to you all about the Chromebooks and my Chromebooks starting, and now we're 2 weeks into term and my Chromebooks are there. It's so exciting walking around school and seeing all our students using their Chromebooks, walking into lessons. The photo on the image there was taken from a lesson today, Year 7 RE lesson, where they were using Google Classroom. And one of the things I promised back in July is that we would do some sessions to help you as parents to understand what your children are using, and how it can help them, to kind of make the most of their time at this school. And Google Classroom is going to be the biggest part of that. And you probably would have heard them talk about Google Classroom a lot already. Before I go on to Google Classroom though, I just want to talk about the Chromebook cases that were promised by Freedom Tech. All of the 12-inch cases have come in, and hopefully your son's got that. If he hasn't got his yet, he needs to come and see me in my office tomorrow, and I'll make sure he gets it. The 14-inch cases did arrive on Tuesday, but when they arrived, they hadn't sent us the right cases. Instead of a nice slip cases we got for the 12-inch ones, which will fit into students' bags beautifully, they sent us old-fashioned laptop cases, and we're just not willing to accept them. So we're getting them sent back, and they're now going to replace them with what we were promised, the slipcase instead. And so by the end of September, those cases will arrive. So apologies from us for that, but unfortunately the company have had a problem with the distribution, and we're pushing them to get those as quickly as we can. So if you've got any questions about Google Classroom today, put them in the chat. Mr. Dawson is sat at another laptop busily answering those questions. And just before I talk, I need to go to this other laptop and just let in the last group of parents. Okay. So Google Classroom is the center of their work for school. And the easiest way for you to find it, the easiest way for them to find it, is via the Hitchin Boys School website. And the Hitchin Boys School website has got some apps at the top. It's got links to Google Mail, Google Drive, and it's got the Google Classroom app at the top in the middle. It's also got a student section, and in the student section, it's got an app store, and if they click on there, it's got links to lots and lots of websites that we recommend they can use, different apps and websites we will be using in class. And if they need to get any IT support, they can get it from there. But they click on Google Classroom, and when they click on Google Classroom, it goes to their home screen. Now, as parents, you can't join the classroom. You can join the classroom though, if you ask your sons very nicely to give you their login details. Before we moved to Google Classroom, students used to have planners, used to have diaries, and you would ask as a parent to see their diary and see what homework had been set there, see what they had coming up. So actually asking them to give you their login details for Google Classroom is just the same as asking to look in their planner. So it's perfectly fine for you to do that. You can get what's called a Guardian Summary. And a Guardian Summary is a weekly email which tells you what work has been set in that class. It tells you what's missing from that class. It's a digest of all of the different things that the teachers have set that week. If you would like to get that, the process for doing it is to email any one of their teachers, their form teacher, any one of their teachers, and ask them to invite you. If one teacher invites you to get the Guardian Summaries, you'll then get an email sent back to you in your email box. You accept that, and then you'll start to get these weekly emails. If at any point you don't want the weekly email, at the bottom is a button you can click on to unsubscribe. So as a parent, you can get the Guardian Summaries. What we really suggest you do though, is you get access to their classroom. You can download the Google Classroom app onto your phones for free, so you can do it on your phone, or you can look on their Chromebook, or if you've got a computer or a laptop, you can look on there. And all the bits we're going to show you today are for Chrome, for the Chromebooks, the way it looks on theirs. The phone looks almost exactly the same. It doesn't have one button, which is one of the most useful ones, to be honest, on here, which is the to-do button, and I'll come on to that in a second. So this is Google Classroom. At the top, there are 3 lines, which we call the burger, which they can find their different classes in. There is a plus button on the other side, and the plus button on the other side allows them to join the classroom as well. If you're able to let some more people in, Mr. Dawson, that'd be great. Then you can see the tiles with all of the different classes on. And this is one of our Year 7 students, loads and loads of different classes in there. The one I'm going to use today is called Demo, and at the moment it's at the bottom. Sometimes for your son's Google Classroom, the classes aren't in the order he wants them in. They aren't in the ones he wants to use most often. One of the things you can do, and I can do with this demo class, is I can drag the class and I can place the class right at the top. When he next logs into Google Classroom, he's going to be a bit surprised to find there's now a different class at the top of the list. So with those tiles, they can reorganize those tiles and they can put them wherever's the most convenient for them. Now, I mentioned the to-do list. If I click on to-do, what I can see for this student is the work he's got. I can see that this week there are 2 assignments which are due. There's one today, due by end of today. He's my son, I'll have a word with him later to make sure he's done that one. And there's one which is due tomorrow. I can also see that there are 11 pieces of work which have been set with no due date. And when a teacher sets a piece of work with no due date, it means it's not a homework, it's something they wanted to be able to work on in class. It also gives me a list of the things he's got to do for next week. There's a piece which is due on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I can see all of those pieces and when they're due. As a parent, I really like this one at the top in the middle, which is missing. 2 pieces of work he hasn't done this week. I'll be going to see him to find out why he's not done those. And 2 pieces of work he didn't do last week. So I can see what piece of work are assigned. I can see what's missing. And then my third option is what piece of work he's done. And I can see that he's handed in 3 pieces of work with no due date. He did one of them early. I think I'll congratulate him on those. And there's 4 pieces of work he's done this week. I'm not sure how well you can see it on the screen, but with his maths homework, it also tells him that he got 10 out of 11 on his maths homework, and it tells me he got 1 out of 1 on his geography homework. So not only can I see the pieces of work that he's done, I can see the marks he's got on them. And maybe if it was a low mark, I could click on it and I could go and look at it with him and see what is it in there which meant he got a low mark. So we've got the to-do list with the things which are assigned, the things which are missing, things which are done. As a parent, I think that's really useful that we can see those all in one place. We can check that they're not missing pieces of work. We can check what's coming up. We can help them to schedule their life. Now, one of the other parts which helps with that is next to the to-do, it's got the calendar. And when I click on the calendar, what it takes me to is his homework calendar, the assignments which have been set. It shows me that this Monday he had 3 assignments set. On Wednesday he had 2, and I can see how his week's going. I can look at next week, and I can see what is coming up next week as well. So the to-do list just gives me a nice list down the page, or he can click on the calendar instead. And if he clicks on the calendar instead, it's just looking at his homework. I know Mr. Dawson is very keen to encourage students to use Edulink to look at their school timetable, and it is a really great resource for that. They can use the Google Calendar. If they open the Google Calendar up from our webpage, you can see here for this student, it's got all of his lessons every single day. It's got the class, it's got the time on it as well. And that's on his Google Calendar, it tells him his lesson times and it tells him when his homeworks are due. So the front page for Google, it's got a button they can join classes on if they need to on the plus. It's got all of their classes which are there. They can move those classes around so they're in the best order. For example, in Low Maths, they've created their own classes the students had to join, as well as the ones which are automatically selected. So for my son to have this maths class at the top makes more sense than the one they're not using. But what's it look like when we go into a class? So we're going into the demonstration class I've set up. And when we go into this demonstration class, we go into what Google call the stream. And it's a stream of consciousness. It is a list of all of the things I've set. At the top, I've left a nice message, a welcome message to my students. On the left-hand side, it tells them what's upcoming for that class. So I can see, my son can see, he's got a piece of work he was supposed to hand in today at midday. He's got a piece of work he's got to hand in tomorrow. And you can scroll down through the stream. I was talking to my older students today about Google Classroom and any advice I had, and every single student I asked said the same thing. But the stream is useful for seeing when things were set, but it's not very useful for finding the work. If you want to find something from a few weeks ago, it can be very difficult. And what they said to me, I had to tell all of you and to tell the boys, is the classwork section is the most important. So we've got stream at the top, and when we open Google Classroom, we go to the stream. But if I click on classwork instead, what you get is you get all of the work set out by topic. And you can see that I've set up 3 topics here. I've set up a question section, an assignment section, and a material section. On the left-hand side, it's then got all of the topics, all the different options. And if I click on assignments, it now just gives me the assignments. When they've got subjects like maths and they're going to do so much work in maths this year, when it comes to revising for the end of year exams, it can be quite difficult to find the work. But if they know they need to revise their algebra, they can select the algebra topic and just find the algebra work. So the topics are really useful for 1, grouping the work together, and 2, for helping them with their revision later on. If there's one area of math, one area of subject they need to work on, they can click on that topic, and then Google Classroom will just show them the work which is there. At the top, they've got the Google Calendar option, they've got the Class Drive option as well. So I've separated it into material and assignments. This is how Google Classroom works and how we work as a school. If we put things into material, and material is a rectangle with a little white box in the top left corner, well, material is resources from a lesson. Things like PowerPoints, Google Slides, documents we want them to read. It's informational resources for that lesson. It won't be things they have to actually do, it's just material which is there for them. So the material is a circle with a rectangle and with a little white square. Assignments, again, circles, but this time the square has got lines on it. An assignment means there should be something they're doing with it. If it's got a date, and I've got here an assignment with a date, that means it's homework. Assignments with dates will have homeworks. Often they have a point to go with it. They'll definitely have a due date to go with it. And maybe like here, I've got a Google Doc to do, and my son would open that Google Doc, and then when he types into that Google Doc, the nice thing with Google, he types into that and that is saved. As his teacher, I can see what he's typed in there. I can go and mark it, I can check how he's done, I can feed back to him. As well as the homework, I've put a video there to help him watch as well. When he's finished it, and this is really important for when you're checking if they've done their homework or not, when you're looking at that to-do list, is they need to click where it says mark as done. If they don't click on mark as done, it will tell you they've missed it, they've not handed it in. The teacher might still mark it, but it will be on your list as not being done. So it's always worth really encouraging them to click as mark as done. If they click mark as done and then they suddenly panic and realize they could have done it better, they can unsubmit, and then they can do some more work on it before the teacher marks it. They can add. They could do the work in the Google Doc, but if they've got a picture they wanted to share as part of our homework, they can click on add. They can add docs, they can add slides, they can add sheets. In their Chromebook, when they click on add, it will give them the option to put a photo on directly from their Chromebook camera. So if they've done some written work and they want to take a picture of it, they don't need to do it on their phone and email it, they can use their Chromebooks to take the photo. If they're struggling with the homework, what we really encourage them to do is they can add a comment. They can send a private comment to their teacher. I've just written help in there and sent that. When I look at my email later, Jack will have sent me a help message. Maybe they should put a bit more detail in there, exactly what is it they're struggling with on their homework so their teacher can help. But the private comments is a really, really good way of asking for help before the due date, before it's done. But again, I think as all teachers, we really want students hitting the mark as done. So once they've done their work, they can go back in. So we've got the assignments with a date. And you can see this assignment now, I've handed it in, has been grayed out because it's been completed. If an assignment doesn't have a date, That would be because I've wanted the students to do work in class. And you can see there, I've shared a Google slide with him, a Google Doc with him, a Google Sheet with him. When he edits those, they get saved straight away for me as a teacher to see. And it's a really useful way of doing it. And if I don't set it as an assignment, I can't see the work they've done, and I can't help them with that work. So sometimes you'll see assignments with no dates. It means it's not a homework. Don't need to worry about it. It's something we're doing in class. It's the date ones we're looking for. Again, though, if he's finished it, it's classwork. I would encourage him to click on the hand in. And again, if he's struggling with it afterwards, if it's something he's looking back on, he can always send a message to his teacher to ask for help. And then there's another type of assignment, which is a quiz assignment. And these will be Google Forms. And when he clicks on it and does that, this one's not working on my laptop because I've set this one especially to be in Chromebook mode. And this is something we're really excited about as teachers. Google have just updated the forms. So if we set a form and put it in Chromebook mode, when your sons open the form, they cannot Google. They cannot open any other windows. The only window which will be open for them is the Google form. So it's a really good way of us checking their understanding, of checking their ability to answer those questions, but to know that while they were answering those questions, they weren't actually Googling the answers somewhere else at the same time. So there's material, and the material is there as resources for them to use during the lesson, things to look back on. There are assignments, and assignments with a date mean it's homework. Assignments without a date mean it is work they could do. With the assignments, they can edit the docs, and the great thing with Google is saving it automatically. They can edit it, the teachers put it there, but they can add extra resources if they want to as well. They can send those private comments and ask for help. They can do the quizzes, and if they're using their Chromebooks to do their homework, that means they can only work in there. And then, I think there was just one more bit for me to show you. And I think we're then done. So if there are any other questions, do make sure you get those questions in. If any of your friends haven't managed to get into this, do let them know we are recording it, and so we will share this afterwards. Once you've added Google Classroom to your phone, every time a teacher uploads a resource, you'll get a notification. And it could be that teachers are adding lots and lots of resources to there, and you are getting lots and lots of notifications, and it is becoming annoying, and you don't want to get all those notifications. If you want to turn off the notifications, click on the three lines on the burger and go down to the wheel where it says settings. And when you click on the wheel and you scroll down, there is an option for class notifications. And when we click on class notifications, it's then got for each student every single class they're in, and they can turn off the notifications for individual classes. So if you've downloaded this onto your phone and there's any classes which are setting so much work, which is great to hear, but it's just a bit annoying getting those notifications, do go in and turn the notifications off. For your sons, I wouldn't encourage them to do that. For your sons on their Chromebooks, I would encourage them to keep the notifications on, because I think it's really useful for them to be finding out what's being set and to keep getting those little nudges to be looking. So Google Classroom, the center of what teachers set, the place where teachers should be putting the resources from the lessons, where they're going to be putting the work, where they're going to be putting the homework, the to-do list, so you can see in a nice place what's coming up, what they've missed, and you can see what they've done and the marks they've got. The calendar, so you can see it in that calendar form. And also, if you look at these tiles that are scrolled down, you can see that they can actually see what the homeworks are, what's due for each subject as well. We can see in their English, there's something due today, and there's something due next Wednesday. We can see in the Year 7 class that there's been an announcement about maths. So we get updates in lots of different places. Thank you very much for coming along. Thank you very much for listening. I will get the email out tomorrow with a video of this. If there's anything in particular anyone wants covered in the next talk in October, do send me an email, jrayner@hitchinboys.co.uk. Thank you very much.